graduation even more than that. And we can keep going on like this. But so today I'm very happy to introduce our facilitator for today, Mohit. So many of us have come to know and love him just with he and his wife's very warm and caring presence and supporter of this Vedic Vision Society program. And so this is the first time that he's going to be leading a session.
Oh my gosh.
Here at IIT.
No pressure, no pressure.
Oh,
It's not about the pressure. Anyway,
Yeah.
he's in sales. He's a very successful sales career professional, and so he eats that for breakfast.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. Haribo.
I'll turn it over to him. He's going to be talking about the capitalist monk.
Whoa. Thank you, Yashodananda. Appreciate it. It will. You just have to turn this on right here, like that.
Oh.
Right?
Did you turn on the network? Oh, there you
Yeah, there we go. Well, thank you, guys. Nice to see you. I missed you guys last Friday. I was out of town, but I heard it was a good program, yeah?
Yes.
Good. So I figured what we'll do is we'll just start off by like recapping what we're doing. So Maharaj kickstarted this. Actually, it was Nityananda Prabhu before that, right? And we said, we're just going to recap the Bhagavad Gita. Because obviously I'm Indian by descent as well. But I grew up here. I was 7 years old when I came here. And if we have time, we'll go and talk about my journey a little bit. Because I think it's, different people have different journeys as it relates to both material and spiritual, right? You guys are on your material journey. You guys are here in the United States. New environment, all those things, right? So it shapes who you become from your career perspective, right? Same thing happens in spirituality. It's when you started, how you started, and it starts to take shape. But you don't notice it then, you notice it looking backwards, right? So if we have some time, we can kind of get back into it. But just to kind of recap, about Bhagavad Gita, anybody can tell me, like, what is it? What's the Gita?
Instructions.
Instructions for?
Living a better life.
To live a better life? Awesome. Anything? No, let's stick with that. That's what it is. But Bhagavad Gita is an instruction book how to live the best life. Can we say that? The best life.
Conversation, too.
It's a conversation. Yeah. In the conversation style, it gives us, it raises questions and then it just provides some answers. So if I told you from, like you guys are all in school and if I said, hey, or if you had an opportunity to take a class and says, hey, if you take this class, you'll be materially successful. I think you guys would all sign up for that, right? So let me ask a question. Why isn't spirituality treated the same way? Right? Why aren't we all like clamoring to sign up for this spirituality class? ISKCON's got a lot of classes, so you guys sign up for, okay? But how come we're not motivated in the same way, right? And so that's what we hope to kind of talk about today. The confusion of why aren't we so excited? And I think this chapter 3, which is Karma Yoga, is going to start to kind of dive into why is it, because there's some confusion around it, and I was confused for most of my life, so don't feel bad if you have some confusion around it, okay? So just to back up a little bit, so it's a book about an instruction of life, right? So, and it's a conversation between Krishna and Arjun, where Arjun becomes pretty much bewildered because he's about to go into a fight with his family members and mentors and friends, and he's like, oh my God, this is not worth it. No kingdom, no wealth is worth fighting, against my own kinship, right? So that's kind of where it's at, right? And then, so that was the first chapter, was kind of just laying the foundation of where this conversation takes place, is on the battlefield. The second, and Arjun becoming bewildered by the questions that he had. Second chapter was kind of like a summarization. It was like fast and furious, pretty much talking about the different paths, the different things that Krishna is going to instruct him with, right? And then so today, we're going to focus on the karma yoga piece, right? just a one piece of conversation. So let's start there. So this is pretty funny, right? The capitalist monk. So before we go to the first slide, I've got a question for you. Is this the image that you get when you think of a spiritualist or a monk? So what do you usually associate, like a sadhu, a swami in our parlance, right, in India? What do you think of? What kind of things come to mind? Just peripheral.
Orange.
Saffron, yeah, orange clothes. Anything else?
Forest.
I'm sorry?
Forest.
Forest, yep, renunciate, right? Anything else? Wooden slippers, yeah. Very, what's the right word? Not austere, not poor, but austere. Not a lot of material possessions, right? And then they always talk about like things that are usually over our heads, right? So no wonder we're not as excited to take that class, right? Because we're like, oh, we don't want to be that, right? Whereas if Warren Buffett or Bill Gates was given a class, I think we'd all sign up, right? Okay, so that's what I said that we're going to talk about some of these misconceptions. And so what if I told you that could be a swami or a monk? You're like, okay, this is interesting. And so that's why the Bhagavad Gita is such a beautiful book, right? It's a beautiful book in that it takes away all the confusion regarding spirituality and materialism, and what our duties are, materially speaking, and then what's our dharma from a spiritual perspective, right? And what it's supposed to do, and you're 100% right, it gives you a guide to live your best life, both materially and spiritually. Okay? And so we're going to get into that with the Karma Yoga. Okay, so we'll define karma, get into Karma Yoga, because that's a little different definition. We'll get into the misconceptions like I was talking about. And then we'll figure out how do we gain success, because we all want success, both materially and spiritually, right? So this is a pretty cool class. Like, this is going to tell you all the answers you want to know. Okay, and how to have it all. That's the big one, right? So and is this something that we want to pursue, right? If I said, hey, here's we're going to have a contest for this job position, and the starting salary is $1 million, along with, you get a palace, and on and on and on. That's a pretty big deal, right? So that's what we're going to talk about. All right. Okay, so karma, as it's defined, but we all have our own ideas, and so please feel to tell me what your ideas were before. But karma is performing action that elicits a corresponding reaction. So it's basically doing anything that gets us some sort of a reaction. It could be good, it can be bad. So like when you do something really good for somebody, help somebody out, quote unquote, you get some spiritual credits that are good karma, right? You hear that? You hear in the nomenclature of the Western world, karma, that's how it's pretty much perceived. Yeah? Agreed? Yes. What's that? The golden rule, Rasa, which is, does anybody know the golden rule? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, right? So that's karma, basically, in a sense, right? So Karma Yoga is a science of performing action without incurring reactions. So that's crazy. So I just got done telling you every action has a reaction, whether good or bad. But then this chapter of Karma Yoga says, okay, I'm going to show you how to do actions without incurring any reactions. So it's pretty far out. So we'll get into that. Okay. Misconceptions of leading a spiritual life versus a material life. What are some misconceptions? We kind of touched upon it, but I like for you guys to tell me what you guys think, because this is what's so nice about this class, because you guys are at the top end of your, I would say, your generation, if you will, in terms of both, education-wise, intelligence. And then the only thing that's separating you from being, right now, materially successful in terms of dollars and cents is just time. You guys are super, super brainiacs, super, super smart people, or you wouldn't be sitting in this room. And the only difference between you and being like driving in a beautiful car, having a wonderful family, and all the things that we think of, materially speaking, is just time, just a matter of time. Literally, you guys are probably like 20-ish. I was the same exact way, right? 20, 25-ish, somewhere in that range, right? Right? 20 to 20, how about 20 to 30, right? And so being materially successful is just literally just going to be a matter of time. As you guys get older, you guys are super smart. Nothing's going to stop you. You're going to live out your destiny because destiny is already starting to take shape. You have the propensity for hard work, but where does that come from? We'll talk about it. Okay? So what are some misconceptions about spiritual life versus a material life? Let's talk about that. Yes?
I'm just going to shoot, right?
Yeah.
I feel like for spiritual life, some people say that, focus on material life now and after I'm retired, focus on spiritual life. But I feel like, why not start now?
On your spiritual life?
Yeah, like,
Okay.
try and do a little bit of both. Why wait now and then do it later? Because you never know what's going to happen later on. And if you don't get the habit, then who knows you're going to actually do it. So that's...
What's your name?
Garish.
Garish? So he's giving the class next week, chapter 4? No, well done. No, you're right. You're right. So one of the misconceptions is that we should practice our spirituality later in life after we establish ourselves materially, right?
Yeah.
Good point. Absolutely. Anybody else? Because like you said, we could do both.
Usually people think that to make it a spiritual life, you have to sacrifice something.
Yes. Okay.
To make it life, no need to sacrifice too much.
Right. So in order to pursue spiritual goals, you might have to sacrifice material goals. Like maybe I don't have time to work hard materially, which will hold me back, which I'll lose out on getting the right job or the better grade or something like that, right? Were you did you play tennis? No. Okay. So the first week that we were here, there was this wonderful young man. He came to talk to Ross and I, and that was his question. It says, I play tennis here at IIT. I've got a full load. I'm taking 18 credit hours. And, I just don't have time right now to focus on spiritual life. This is my time to establish myself materially. So that's a great question because that's one of the things that comes up as a misconception because we'll realize why you can still kind of do both. But okay, that's a really good one because it's an opportunity cost. Let's say that, right? Okay, anybody else?
As they say, let it all go before taking a step towards your spiritual life. So leaving all behind, like everything behind, your materialistic things, desires and all.
Okay.
That's a term in Hindi called sannyasa.
Sannyasa.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you take sannyas when you want to get your life into the spiritual and all. So you leave behind your materialistic life.
Yes.
And just focus on spiritual life. But that's not what I think. You can do both at
Okay.
the same time.
Okay.
There's not the requirement of taking sannyasa and leaving everything behind and all. You can do both, it's just your priorities and all.
Yeah.
It's how you prioritize your things.
Good. So what you're saying is spirituality doesn't begin at sannyas, and that's the misconception. Spirituality really starts at sannyas, right? Okay. Yes, you should have.
It's boring.
Boring. Okay. There we go. We got some truth coming out now. Yes, it's boring. Spiritual life or material life? Oh, spiritual life. Yes. Okay. Spiritual life is very boring. Yes, Prabhu.
Spiritual life means you don't do anything, you just sit and meditate 24 hours. That's all.
Okay. Have you heard that? Yes. Yeah. I want to spend some time on this because I want to get to the root of why we're less inclined to pursue things spiritually, but we are so attracted to material gain, right? Like, why are we so attracted to that? That's an important thing to explore, don't you think? Like, what is it about spirituality that's holding us back? Because we all die, right? We agree we all die, and something happens to us, right? Like if something happens to us, and if we, what's that? What's that?
Oh, that is true.
We respawn. We.
Come back. Come back.
Okay, yeah, we come back again, right? So, but this is what I always thought to myself is like, you guys are actually coming to this room and you guys are 20-something. You don't want to know where I was at when I was your age, right? I had no inclination for spiritual life whatsoever. But why? Why is that? And we'll talk about that, okay? So misconceptions, right? Okay, so here's some of the ones we wrote down. Spiritual and material are mutually exclusive. Can't do both. We said that, right? If you are spiritual, you are poor. Material, you are rich. Kind of, right? Spiritual always have a peace of mind. Materials are always disturbed. That's interesting. That's almost like a contradiction, right? So we always we associate spirituality with a peace of mind, and materials are disturbed. Okay, so we're going to explore that. That are all people who practice spirituality have a peace of mind? I'm not so sure. And all people that are materially inclined are always disturbed? I don't know. We'll talk about it. Okay, one can't pursue spiritual life and simultaneously honor roles and responsibilities. So that's kind of what I heard, but this is literally even more like, hey, if I focus on that, well, actually, I think you guys said that. If I can't focus on my material life, I may not be able to uphold my duties to my wife, my parents, etc. Okay, where are we at? Okay, I am the doer. If I work hard materially, I will achieve great things. Okay, that's under misconceptions, right? So that sounds about right. Actually, the reason you guys are sitting in America right now is because of this motto. I can do anything that I put my mind to. If I work hard enough, catch a little break in here, there, do a yagya, do a puja, and I can get what I want. I am the doer. Correct? Okay, we'll talk about that. I have to give up everything in order to pursue spirituality. Inaction is possible. Inaction is possible, or the answer to avoid karmic reaction. It's possible.
Inaction is possible. Like you can not do anything. That's a possibility that you have in life, is to do nothing.
Oh, okay. Spirituality is doing nothing, right? That's an option. Is that it?
In order to avoid reaction, you should do no action.
That's it. That's it. So remember we talked about every action has a reaction? Oh my gosh, I don't want to do anything. Because then I don't want that karma, right? I don't want that good or bad karma, especially the bad karma. Okay, cool.
So that's a misconception.
That's a misconception that we're gonna dive into. Okay. All right, so let's go. What is real renunciation? Okay. So this is kind of going on, and what we're going to do is we're going to develop our talk, and we're going to get together, and hopefully at the end we'll be able to kind of what you guys both were saying is you can do both. I think that's why you guys are all sitting here, because you guys think that's a great thing. You know, we've curated all the people that thinks they can't, right? Well, what I'm hoping is that you guys become the examples through the service of Shama and Yashodananda Prabhu over the course of the year, and they start to see that you all are having just the same amount of success, materially speaking, in your classes and all that, but then you're developing a consciousness that's going to maybe help you down later on down the line, right? And we'll talk about what Krishna says about that, and what Prabhupada, our spiritual founder, says about that as well. Okay? So, real renunciation, it's not about distancing ourselves or abstaining. So that was to the point of that you have to kind of just like not do anything so you don't get bad karma. It's about giving the things that cause us to use material things in a self-centered, exploitive ways. Okay, so now this is the cool part. Who wants to be rich here? You got to be honest. Got to be honest, okay? All right, who wants to be rich? Okay. Who wants to be powerful? Okay. Who wants to have a good standing in your respective communities? Okay. What else?
Fancy car.
Yeah, fancy car, all the nice things that we want, right?
Nice wife.
Respected, right? Nice wife, nice husband, and the like, right? We all want that, or at least most of us do, or are willing to admit it. Come on in. You think there's anything wrong with thinking that way? You don't think so? You think it's totally okay? Okay. Who wants to be greedy? Greedy. Who wants to be selfish? You guys are lying.
What if you already are?
What's that? That's fine. Raise your hand. You know, like I have those tendencies. Okay. Envious. You want to be envious? That's your goal? No, forget about if you are. Let's just say if that's your goal, like that's a worthwhile quality for you to pursue. No? Okay.
Most of the people would not know if they are greedy or selfish. It would be the
Ah.
other person who would observe it.
Yeah, okay. That's a really good point.
But what if you just self-evaluate yourself or overthink a lot?
Also depending on the circumstances, the condition.
Okay. What if you have a bank balance of $1 million and you have a job that you have to work 80 hours. You just got a job offer, but you got to work 80 hours a week, which means you're going to be away from your family. You're going to have travel, but it pays a really nice salary, double what you're making now. Even though you're making, what's a good number? 250,000. But this is double. Yeah, this is double. So is that greedy? I don't know, right? Okay. 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 So the purpose of karma yoga is able to take and pursue our material desires, your material desires, without developing these unwanted qualities that we have. So you guys already did the hard work, which is you guys have set yourself up by working really hard and having proper guidance from your parents, from your peers, from your mentors, to put yourself in a position to really be here, pursuing your wants and desires, like from a material perspective. You're there, you're working so hard. And so let's get back. The only thing holding you back from those things is time. So I don't even doubt it. I don't think you guys doubt it, right? You're going to get a good job. You know your peers who graduated in the same program you did, they start off with a great salary, and that's just starting. What to speak of like 10 years down the line in your field, or 15 when you guys really get to the top of your field, right? Okay. So you're there. We agree? You guys are on your path, materially speaking? But what if you end up being a greedy person, or selfish, or envious, or prideful? Don't you think that we should invest a little bit of time in figuring out, okay, I'm not giving up my dreams, but at the same time, I don't want to develop these bad qualities. And that's what Krishna is saying in chapter 3 of how to do that. So if somebody would have told me that, because I too always thought, I'm like, oh my God, I don't even want to deal with spirituality because I don't want it to slow me down because I'm going this way and that person's telling me to go that way. That's not happening, right? And my parents, actually they still say it, is be really careful, don't get too involved because, you know, that might lead you to stray away from your objectives and material goals, right? But if somebody would have said, because there was a time I had these qualities before I met Rasa. It's the truth. It's the truth. And here's the cool part. Not the cool part. Not the cool part. Somebody said that. Here's the part. I think it was you who said it. You don't even know that you have these qualities, right? And so I'm like, wait a minute. I'm not like, looking back, I'm like, oh my God, I don't like that person that I was. But at the time, I didn't know who I was. So probably what was happening in my life is I was attracting the people that were like me, and I was distancing myself from people that were actually not those things. Because they saw that in me, and I didn't see that in myself. But I didn't know it. Right? So I have the luxury of hindsight to say, oh my God, you know, like, if somebody would have told me that, I would have taken that class. Like, you know, I would have taken that class. And so this is what's so cool about this is that's really this is what spirituality is. It's how to live in this world, right? Because we all got to work. We got to provide. This is the material world. But we do it in a manner that keeps us consistent with our spiritual dharma, our spiritual goals, right? And then we're going to talk about to what a level of investment that you need. Because so you guys all sign up for that, right? We're in? Okay. Now the catch is this. What do we got to do? Like, how much involvement is it going to take? You only have so many hours. You got 18 hours. You're in a master's program, PhD program, right? So like, you only have so many hours a day. What are you going to do? So let's go here. Okay, so how to spiritualize our material activities. The reason I'm even involved in all this stuff because it's the easiest thing I've ever done in my life. Okay? I just didn't realize it was easy until later. Okay? So, how to spiritualize our activities. Do everything for Krishna. It took me 16 years to figure out what that meant. Because you learn it from somebody telling you when you go over this chapter, or somebody gives a class on a Sunday, you know, they say, oh, just offer everything to Krishna and you're good. Right? Prabhu, you just offer your many homes and your salary to Krishna and you're good. But what does that mean? Do I mean I donate my entire salary to Krishna? Wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. And then have somebody that I don't know running the temple, spending money, like, what's going on here? Okay, So let's just go real quickly through these things. Food. Offer first, take prasadam. How many, like we all eat every Friday here, right? Do you guys know that you're eating prasadam? Okay. How difficult was to offer that food to Krishna? Not very, right? There's a little ritual that we do, but even if you can't do that, you just close your eyes and say, thank you, Krishna. Oh, that's offered. When you're starting, so wherever you're at, if you just associate that this food is provided by Krishna, that's offering it to him. Because he doesn't need your food. It's just, he wants to know that you recognize it's coming from him. So that's one way to doing it. Pretty easy, right? Took me a long time to figure that one out. Think about that. Work hard for Krishna to support self and family. That's interesting. Wait a minute. Krishna wants you to work hard into the job that you get? If my boss asked me to work 50, 60 hours, Krishna's telling me to go do that? If it's time and circumstances justify it, like you said, right? Yeah. You've got an obligation. You are choosing to be, we're all assuming that we're all going to be grihastha life, right? Which is a married life and things like that. So you've got obligations that you're going to have to support your family, right? Okay, so work hard for him. Save money for Krishna. This is a good one. So you can free up your life to practice your spirituality seriously. Okay, so Ross and I have been saving. Admit it. We're working hard. We got our kids are all out of the house. There's 3 boys we have. They're all gone. And we got about 2 years. And since we have boys, I don't have to worry about paying for dowries. Wrong. I'm paying for a wedding next year. So, no, the point is, we're working really, really hard so we can save. So here's the difference. I'm not necessarily saving for a Porsche. Or I'm not saving for, whatever. Think of something. Travel around the world. Well, we are kind of like a little. No, but we're saving so we don't have to work as much, so we can create a situation where we can devote more time to spirituality. Yeah? Now we just took our savings, our bank balances, and turned it and spiritualized them. Was that hard? I just did it right now. You guys can do the same. It's almost like cheating, isn't it? It took me 16 years to figure this out. what Krishna is saying in this chapter, the Karma Yoga chapter. Okay. So make as much money as you can. Just have the right attitude, basically, right? Buy a car and things for Krishna, use them for you and Krishna. Right? You can do all those things. That's how you spiritualize your material activities. So questions, comments. Does this make sense, or am I saying the right things? Did I read the wrong book? I don't know.
How
What do
to
you-
use your car for Krishna?
Okay, so that's a really hard one, right? So we were listening to a lecture this morning by Tomohara Prabhu in Alachua, right? And he was saying, he's like, offering to Krishna, sometimes it gets hard to justify, like, how do I do this exactly? So another way of looking at it is, whatever things you have materially, if you are trying to practice some sort of devotional service or some sort of spiritual yajna, whatever, that will automatically be spiritualized. I thought that was a beautiful answer. So instead of trying to say, okay, well, how do I spiritualize my wife? Right? That might get hard, initially. But the point is, another way of looking at what I'm saying is if we, in the pursuit, what's that? Okay. In the pursuit of your material responsibilities, if you give an effort to develop yourself spiritually through devotional service or whatnot, you automatically spiritualize your material life. Yes.
I think you just beautifully said it, but I guess those qualities like greed and selfishness and stuff, what makes the difference is the mindset, right? Like you said, because a spiritualist might do the same thing a materialist do, but not greedy, because of the mindset that you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, exactly. The point is, she brought up a really good point, is the difference is.
It might be the same activity, but it's like the mindset that's different.
It's the mindset that's totally different. Because that's what we're doing here, right? Because we're just, can you go back one more? To Shama's point, just go back one more, yeah. All we're doing is just thinking of Krishna at each one of these points, right? Whereas a materialist would be doing it all for their prestige, all for their greed, right? For themselves. And so the only difference, Krishna says in this chapter, is your desire, which is Krishna versus not, and your mindset, right? Your consciousness changes. So I couldn't find it because I was putting, we're putting this together, but I couldn't find a suitable picture of it. But have you guys ever heard of? This is it's pretty popular. So so I'm just going to your point. There's a picture of a monk, a Buddhist monk. Think of it in his, maroon robes, and he's sweeping. Okay. And the caption on top says, before enlightenment. This monk was just sweeping before enlightenment. Then the next one is this monk in the maroon robes. Maroon, like these maroon robes, right? And the caption says, after liberation. Huh?
After enlightenment.
Enlightenment or liberation. What is the picture, do you think he's doing? What do you think he's doing? Same thing. What's the difference?
Attitude.
Consciousness, yes. Attitude.
Smiling was
Yeah. So that's Shama's point, right? Shama's point is, so when we're material, so I didn't even like using the word materialist versus spiritualist, because God knows, we're all susceptible to being, I think it's just, we oscillate. And as we study, as we, practice our spirituality, we know we oscillate back and forth in these mindsets. And the only difference is the mindset. So when we're separated in terms of our thinking with Krishna or God, we're thinking from ourselves perspective. And then the difference is, once we realize the big picture, and we're going to get into those in subsequent chapters of the Gita, I don't want to take all that away, we spiritualize it, or our mindset changes. But we're doing the exact same things. Just like that monk, the Buddhist monk, is still sweeping, but his mindset's changed. And so same thing, we want to pursue our goals and responsibilities that we have, but we want to do it with a different mindset. Thanks, Shama. Okay, what do we got here? What happens if you forget to offer to Krishna? Ooh. Okay. So can you answer that question? That's not the answer, actually. What happens if you forget to offer to Krishna? So we just talked about, like, if you just think of Krishna, everything will be, it's going to be spiritualized. So the question is, what happens if you forget?
You get reaction.
Yes. Yeah. Technically, yes.
If you forget to offer to him, when you remember, you offer to him again.
Yeah. Krishna's very forgiving. So what he's saying is, so again, this was the point I was making earlier. If you're involved in any type of yajna, whatever it is, right? Any type of devotional service is another way of saying it. Krishna will forgive that. Because why? Why would Krishna do that? Because I just got done saying if he wants you to offer everything to him, but why would he forgive that if you're involved in devotional service? The answer is, if you continue to practice some sort of yajna or devotional service, eventually you will remember always to do that. So that person that was here when the start of the semester, who had tennis, who had classes, he had work, and he was like truly genuine. He's like, my mom made me put up an altar in my apartment when I got here because she's devout, but I don't have any time. What's the answer for him, do you think? How would you advise, if you have those own questions, how would you answer those? But more importantly, if somebody said that to you, maybe some colleague, like, I don't have time for that kind of stuff, right? What would you say?
Start small.
Huh?
Start small.
Start small.
Even if you can just give 5 minutes a day, just start small. Krishna will reciprocate, basically, make you remember it more and more.
My gosh, he is giving the class next week. Yes.
And maybe it's not doing something different, it's a mindset change, so you can do the same things. It doesn't take time to change your mindset.
Yes, that's beautiful too. It's just, you may not have to do anything except just close your eyes 5 minutes before you start your day, right? And start there. And if you keep hanging out with this crew, you'll start to pick up, like, I'll take this, I'll do this. Because, it takes time to get attracted even more and more. And then your point is 100% right, just a little bit, and then something starts to happen where Krishna creates a situation where he gives you more. Okay, cool. So I've got this, do your homework before you can play. Have the right mentality. What does that mean? So this is a very American thing too, but I'm sure this is very common in India. But you know how so go back to like high school or junior high, right? That type of level where you're between like 12 and probably 15, somewhere in that range. And you're doing your homework. And your friends are like, come on, we gotta go out, right? Let's go play. And so in our house, when our 3 boys, we're just like, dude, just get your homework done. You can do whatever the heck you want to do. That's what Krishna's telling us. Just do it right way. And it's fine. If you do it the right way, good things start to happen to you. Like you all. If you went out and played, right? If you succumb to your friend's request all the time, well, your studies might suffer, right? And so there might be some bad consequences associated with that. So if you want to just really simplify, just, I don't want to use the bad word. The word is get your stuff done before you go out and play. That's it. Get your stuff done. All right, next. Okay, so we're doing all right on time. Okay. This is kind of good too. So let's just keep going, right? who actually creates success in our endeavor. So this is another point that Krishna makes and Arjuna make in this, in the 3rd chapter, is it myself? Do we create our own success? Because you guys are pursuing success. You're sitting in this classroom, so it's got to be you, right? My karmic past? How does that work? How do I find out do we need to do past life regressions or something? That's next week, right? You're showing another, you're doing that later? Or is that December?
Past life regression?
Yeah. No? Okay. All right. Sorry. Wrong lecture. Okay. Is it the demigods? Now, this is where I use that in the most respectful way. Demigods. Devatas. You know, they have this is not, I don't want anybody thinking that I'm using that in a derogatory way at all, but is it our prayer to the Devatas that get us the results that we're looking for? I don't know. Is it Bhagwan or Krishna that ultimately creates the success that we have or the lack thereof? This is where it starts to get a little confusing. Where do I come in? Because I want to come in. Like, this is me. I'm doing it. Right? Remember that whole thing? If you work hard enough, you can accomplish anything in America? Okay. There we go. We didn't do a good job of keeping in suspense, did we? We're not the doers. Okay? Our karmic past in relation to... This is why you guys know all the answers before I know it. Oh my God. Our karmic past in relation to the 3 modes of material nature is how Krishna is the doer. Not a blade of grass moves without my will. Okay, so let's break that down a little bit. Okay? So your karmic past plays a role how? Of what happens to you in this lifetime.
Like what you did before you're living out now.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Does that make sense to everybody? Mandy, does that make sense to you? Yeah? Okay. Because we, growing up in the Indian culture, we kind of know this stuff. Maybe not as clear, but we kind of know, yeah, karma, yeah. Mandy's like, I don't know what you're talking about, what life you were in, but, okay. So our karmic past, we don't quite know how that works, right? Even some of the deeds that we did maybe earlier, we don't know how they play a role in our future, but we know they do, right? Theoretically. Okay, so our karmic past. Devatas. Do they play a role in our success? This is a good question. Prabhu, can you get...
Yeah, I mean, because through them we get a lot of abilities and stuff. Because they control at some level. So they are playing with our fates.
Okay. So, you don't have to raise your hand, but I will. Like, have we done any yagyas to specific gods to get some sort of result, right? I had, absolutely, right? We all have. And Prabhu's totally right. They play a role because they're like the administrative body of God, and they play out they handle certain functional departments, let's just say, right? Marriage. Rasa prayed, no, I'm just kidding. No. It was me that was praying. Okay. And it was a Shiva, right? Yeah. So you've got the Devatas, right? They play a role in it, right? So that has effect on what we do. Okay.
You can ask a lot of Andhra people here. They have all got their visas from Devatas.
Devatas, visas, yes, right? I had my mom, man, oh my gosh. She had me do all kinds of stuff sometimes when I was going through a hard time. Like it was, I don't even know, like a yellow doll and only one, one fistful, and I had to throw it in the river and all this stuff. I didn't know, but I was willing to, because I wanted the results, so I was willing to go for it. I'm like, okay, let's just do this. Okay, all right. But no. You're totally right. There is a role that Devatas play, and a very important role, actually. Okay, very important role. And in this chapter, actually, and it's worth mentioning that Krishna actually says, oh my God, if you're praying to the demigods, let it be, because eventually they'll lead you to the devotion that you're eventually going to get to bhakti, in bhakti yoga, right? So he's basically saying is praying to the demigods is just a stepping stone until you get to clear your consciousness enough to be fully surrendered. So it's in the right path, if you will, right? So demigods play a role. Bhagwan Krishna, you think Krishna plays a role?
Yes.
Absolutely. So, all right, so what's the answer? What is the answer? I'm sorry? We are not the doers. There's a lot of people involved in our success. I don't know why, right? There's a lot of people involved in sex. And this is a hard concept to understand in the Western world. It's a really hard one. You know? To say, me, myself, I'm not the doer. And it's because we identify ourselves with our body and it's not our spirit soul, right? Once we identify ourselves with our spirit soul, we kind of get the idea why this is true. But as long as you're identifying yourself with the body, like this is my wife, these are my children, this is my car, my house, my lecture, then it's hard to disassociate from that I'm not the doer. However, once you start to understand that we're a spirit soul, which is what spirituality is, right? That's the beginning of spirituality, is to understand that we're not the body, we're the soul. We start to understand how we are not necessarily in control what happens. However, we still got to go do what we got to do in terms of our dharma. So we're going to get to it. Go ahead. How to have it all. Grow both materially, spiritually in tandem. So we're going to talk about this, right? So we already talked about this. Shama said, change our consciousness, act as a matter of duty. So that's 2 points right there, right? So our consciousness changes that I'm not the doer, but I'm going to work my butt off to do the duty that I'm supposed to do in this life. And that duty could be, you have a family. That duty could be is Kartik's going to be a brahmachari and serve Krishna and then wear the saffron robes all his life. Too late. Okay. So we have to figure out what is it that what our objectives are in this material world, right? And then we have to pursue them, but with the right consciousness. Yeah? Cool? All right. Work as a service to Krishna, let him take care of the results. So that's really cool too. This is interesting. So I'll just tell you, this is probably my realization in the last 2 to 3 years. Because when you're in the corporate world, you have to work hard, but you're always looking for that next promotion, right? Where are you gonna, how are you gonna get there? And you have some challenges, and you have to deal with a lot of challenging people, right, Rasa? So how to deal with that? That's going to be very disturbing to the mind, right? And so my realization is finally, I got it through my thick head, is like, oh my God, just work hard as you can. And if you get the promotion, great. And if you don't get the promotion, it's okay. If you get the sales increase, or if you get the salary increase, great. If not, that's okay too. So the funny thing is, last year I had a banner year managing our group. And I didn't really do anything special. But I got all this praise. I got all this praise, like I really didn't do anything different. This proved it to me that this is true. This year, we're having a horrible year. No, I shouldn't say horrible, but not such a good year. We're comping against last year's results. So when people come to me, I'm like, hey, I'm doing the same thing I did last year. Like, I break it down. So what is it? Am I really doing it? Or am I just an instrument of what I'm supposed to be doing? Okay? And so that's the realization I had in the last couple of years. And I'll tell you what, it's really helping me to be able to do my job. Because if I get all like flustered and if I like, freaking out this year because, oh, what if I lose my job? What about this? What about that? That's not the way I want to live my life, right? So this is a very important way of thinking, and all it is thinking differently. Okay, The difference is our internal desire to work with nature. So another way of saying, you know, why are you swimming upstream? You guys hear that? Like if you tries to swim up a river, that's a lot harder than going down a river. So another way of saying that is in line with nature. Yeah? In line with God. Okay? Or against God. That's another way of kind of thinking that. So these are, we got 10 minutes, okay. Am I boring people? Am I talking too much? No? Okay. But I thought it was like this chapter was really, really cool and really appropriate for everybody in this room because, you know, we're professionals. We're aspiring to be professionals and we've got to reconcile this stuff because the biggest thing that we can do for ourselves is pursue whatever we're pursuing with enthusiasm, right? Enthusiasm, both materially and then be enthusiastic when you walk into the temple, right? Or whatever you're doing to say, oh my God, yes, I get it, I belong. It's not like I'm feeling guilty. I come once a year. That's okay, right? That's where you're at. Okay, cool. Practice spiritual or devotional activities to the extent that you are able to give your life's circumstances. So we already talked about that. Okay, so this is how you get to have it all. Both a material and spiritual success in life can be had by changing our consciousness. It's pretty sound like, it's almost like, wait a minute, what am I doing here? I already knew this, right? Like, how many people already knew this? If you did, just raise your hand if you do this. Honestly, you got a really good working idea, yeah? Are you guys saying that you're not raising your hand, you did not know this? It's pretty profound stuff that we just talked about today then, right? Okay. So I can't wait when one of the speakers starts talking about the benefits of practicing a spiritual life, because there's a lot of misconceptions about that. So no, you can't walk on water. I guess if you're a yogi, you can probably, right? Like those yogis in the caves, you know, that they do that. You can probably do that. But I can tell you from a personal experience, and everybody that's been practicing Krishna consciousness for a little bit, there is absolute miracles that happen, but they're so subtle that if you're not aware, you'll miss it. Like literally. Okay, so thankfully for you, we don't have time to go into my own spiritual journey and how I got started, because Rasa would have like fainted. No, maybe another day. But the point what I wanted to make was, I was very much in your shoes, meaning that I'm from Indian descent. My parents are practicing, Hindus. My dad's an Arya Samaj. My grandfather was a Pandit in the Arya Samaj. So I knew the concepts peripherally. I wanted nothing to do with it, because every time I asked questions, the answers were like just very vague, or I didn't quite understand, right? And then, so I didn't even understand it. Like, to be honest with you, and then once you start to study it systematically, you're like, oh my God, this is like, I get it. You know, the first question is, how many gods there are in Hinduism? I'm like, I don't know, there's probably a lot. And then you realize there's only one, right? In all religions, there's only one God. And so that's why we get all so excited. That's why Yashodanandan and Shama work so hard. Everybody works so hard to go out and try to give this message, right? Why? Why would we want to do that? Because this is a message that's really empowering, actually. And it's very subtle and simple. And once you start your journey, however it takes, my journey is 16 years, right? And in the last 5 years is probably where I made the most progress. First 11 were like, this is just, I went along with it because I'm married to Rasa. She brought me into it. So I couldn't just leave. But if I wasn't married to her, I probably would have left. Honestly, quite honestly, because I didn't understand it. So we all have our journeys. And then you have these people that met Prabhupada, and all right, I'll tell you I'll tell you this one, and we'll end on this one. So Ross and I spent, we were in Florida during the pandemic, and there was a neighbor of ours down in Florida, and he's an older Prabhupada disciple, right? You guys, everybody knows who Prabhupada is, right? He started the ISKCON movement in the West. And so one of the coolest things when you meet these Prabhupada disciples is like, hey, what's your story? How'd you meet the devotees, or what happened, right? And during the pandemic, they were very scared to even come out. So we lived there for like a year, and our discussion was just like a wave, as we were walking by. And so finally things were kind of opening up, and there was this fire sacrifice at our other neighbor's house. And so I happened to sit right next to this gentleman, and he's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I see you every single day, blah, blah, blah. And we're just kind of catching up. And so the talk naturally turned into, so how did you, meet the devotees? And so he goes, okay, you got time for this? I'm like, yeah. He goes, okay, so let me tell you. And so I'm going to sum up this. Okay, I got 3 minutes. Okay. So he was from Staten Island in New York. Okay. So it's just a small little line next to Manhattan. And he was about 17, 18 years old. He was a lifeguard at a pool. And his girlfriend at the time came to him one day and says, hey, I'm going to this love feast. Okay? Do you want to come with? He's like, oh, no, I'm not interested in it. I'm not interested in this. She's like, oh, this might be cool. I'm not going to tell you what he thought the love feast meant, but you could probably figure it out. So he actually said that to me. He goes, oh, I thought it was some kind of thing, but. So anyway, his girlfriend goes, and she comes back. She goes, oh, my God, their founder was there, and he told me to tell you to stop all this nonsense and come. He goes, I didn't think anything of it. The only thing that stuck with me is the word nonsense, right? He goes, at the time I was 18 years old, I was partying, all these things, right? Drugs. So I didn't think anything of it. He goes, I went on backpacking in Europe. There's a Rath Yatra going on. I meet the devotees. They give me this Back to Godhead magazine. I read it. I'm like, oh, this is pretty interesting. Wow, okay, so there's some substance behind this movement. But that's it. That was my interaction with the devotees. Come back to the United States. I'm with my family in New York and say, hey, I've got some friends down in Miami. I'm going to go down to Miami. So he goes down to Miami. What does he do? He meets a friend. He goes, oh my God, I'm going to this Krishna. He couldn't get away from it, right? I'm going to this program on Sunday. Do you want to come? And he goes, and guess what? Their founder's down here for one night. But do you want to come tomorrow morning? I'm going for a walk with him in the morning on the beach. He goes, sure, why not? He was a really good friend of mine. He goes, I might as well go meet this guy, right? This is the second time. And if I get a chance, I'll ask him if he actually said that to my ex-girlfriend, that stop the nonsense and come. He goes, so there's probably 50 devotees with Prabhupada. So when Prabhupada used to go out there, there's you couldn't get near him, right? So there, he's looking, so he goes, we go for a walk, and we're on the beach in Miami, and we're looking, and Prabhupada's got this gallant look. You know how, have you seen pictures of Prabhupada when he's got this gallant look, like a regal look? And he's looking out in the ocean, and he says, he's just looking at it, and he goes, I'm standing way in the back. Without turning his head, he looks up, he goes, Carl, looks a little bit like Staten Island, doesn't it? I've got chills right now. He goes, I had goosebumps all over my body. He goes, I got initiated that same day. So you've got that dramaticness, and then you got me. Right? So the point is, our journeys are our own, right? And I thought that story, it's just wow. So that's like a miracle, right? But most of us won't experience that type of miracle. And so the lesson for me was, don't be waiting for that miracle. Krishna's got his own plan for you. That's it. All right, any questions before we have prasadam? Any comments? Anything I said wrong? Rasa? Usually she's good at telling me what I said wrong. You want to add something, hon? No? Do you want me to read a passage or something like that?
I wanted to show the book.
Oh, okay. So Any questions? Nothing like that? So next week is chapter 4, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Can I ask, does everybody have the book? Or
Everybody have the Gita?
access to the book? Do you know how to read it online?
Yeah. Okay.
You probably-
If you guys have time, try to read the chapter that we're going to discuss, the next week. If you don't even worry about it. He does a great job of putting like a summary together. If you don't do that, it's okay. The point is, I just really appreciate you guys coming here. I think we all do. Like, it's a lot more fun than if there was 2 people here, right? But the greatest message you can take from this is, I think it's applicable, and it's going to be really, really cool journey, whatever journey that is that you're on. Like whatever your individual journey is. Okay? Thank you.